Hello and welcome. Today, we'll take a journey through history to discover the most significant events that happened on October 25th over the past 500 years. From politics and wars to science, technology, medicine and cinema, this day has witnessed remarkable events that shaped the world we live in. Stay tuned and let's explore them together. Which of these historical events do you think had the greatest impact on the world and why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In the last 24 hours, several significant events have shaped global news. 1. Middle East conflicts. Tensions between Israel and its neighbors have escalated, with increased attacks involving Iranian-aligned groups. This has affected regional stability and is impacting US politics as American voters react to escalating violence. 2. US election campaigns. The US presidential race intensifies with foreign policy, especially concerning the Middle East, as a focal point. Candidates Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are aligning themselves differently on the conflict, seeking support from both Jewish and Arab American communities, especially in key swing states like Michigan. 3. Climate and environmental news. Rising temperatures and climate policies have been highlighted at international forums, pushing for stronger actions to counter global warming impacts, especially in vulnerable regions. 4. Kurds and Middle Eastern updates. In Iraq, Kurdish political dynamics remain tense as leaders negotiate representation and alliances in the region, impacting security and political stability. In the past 24 hours, Turkey has intensified its attacks on Kurdish-controlled areas in Rojava, northeastern Syria. These airstrikes have targeted over 40 sites, including essential infrastructure such as power stations, hospitals, and grain storage facilities, leaving more than 2,600 villages without electricity. The strikes have led to the deaths of 8 civilians and injured at least 18 others, including women and children. Many of the strikes have focused on oil facilities and energy resources, severely impacting the local economy. Turkey claims these operations are in response to an attack by the Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, on the Interior Ministry in Ankara. However, Kurdish forces in Syria have denied any direct ties to the PKK. Human rights organizations, including Human Rights Watch, have condemned the Turkish attacks, alleging Turkey's failure to protect civilians. Kurdish officials have labeled Turkey's actions as war crimes and are urging the international community to take action to prevent further attacks, emphasizing the deteriorating humanitarian conditions and increased insecurity in these regions.
On this day in 1415, the famous Battle of Agincourt between the English army, led by Henry V, and the French took place during the 100 Years' War. This battle was one of England's greatest victories and helped shape the course of European history. On this day in 1760, George III was crowned King of Britain, and his reign lasted until 1820. He ruled during a critical period in British history, including the American Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more exciting and informative content. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video.
On this day in 1854, the famous Battle of Balaclava occurred during the Crimean War. This battle is particularly known for the charge of the British Light Brigade against Russian forces, resulting in a significant defeat. On this day in 1861, following Samuel Morse's efforts, the first transatlantic telegraph message was sent from Europe to America, revolutionizing global communications. On this day in 1881, Pablo Picasso, the famous Spanish painter and one of the most influential artists of the 20th century, was born. He was the creator of the Cubism movement, which brought a major shift in modern art. On this day in 1900, the Second Industrial Revolution was in full swing, bringing groundbreaking innovations in manufacturing and technology that had a massive impact on global economies and technologies. On this day in 1917, the Russian Revolution was in full force, with conflicts between the Bolsheviks and the Imperial Army at their peak. This revolution led to the establishment of a communist government in Russia, fundamentally changing its political landscape. On this day in 1924, the Kurdish independence movement, led by Sheikh Mahmoud Barzanji, fought against British forces in Iraqi Kurdistan. This was one of the earliest Kurdish struggles for independence in the Middle East. On this day in 1929, Black Thursday, the start of the stock market crash in the United States, triggered the Great Depression, a worldwide economic crisis that had deep and lasting effects on the global economy. On this day in 1944, the Soviet Red Army launched a major offensive against German forces in Eastern Europe, leading to the liberation of several countries from Nazi occupation. On this day in 1945, Japan, as part of post-World War II agreements, gave up its colonies in Korea. This event was a precursor to the division of Korea into North and South. On this day in 1955, TVO, a television network in Canada, was established, eventually becoming a significant source of educational and cultural programming. On this day in 1962, after the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis, negotiations to end the crisis began, averting a potential nuclear war between the US and the Soviet Union. On this day in 1965, Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, was born. In the decades that followed, he played a pivotal role in the development of information technology and communications. On this day in 1971, following medical advancements, the first successful drug to treat malaria was discovered by Chinese scientists, saving millions of lives in tropical regions. On this day in 1983, the U.S. invaded Grenada following a military coup. This intervention remains one of the most controversial military actions in modern U.S. history.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more exciting and informative content. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video.
On this day in 1990, the Hubble Space Telescope was launched into space, providing incredibly detailed images of the universe that revolutionized scientific research. On this day in 1991, a peace agreement was signed between the Kurdistan Democratic Party and the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan in Iraq, improving the situation for Kurds in northern Iraq. On this day in 2001, Apple introduced the first iPod, which revolutionized the music industry and digital technologies. On this day in 2007, the early sparks of the global financial crisis were ignited, which would have profound effects on global economies and financial policies in the coming years. On this day in 2011, Muammar Gaddafi, the leader of Libya, was killed during the country's civil war. This was a key moment in the Arab Spring and the ongoing transformations in the Middle East. On this day in 2015, NASA released the first evidence of liquid water on the surface of Mars, fueling hopes of discovering life on other planets. On this day in 2019, anti-government protests in Baghdad and across Iraq reached their peak, reflecting widespread dissatisfaction with the country's political and economic situation. On this day in 2023, the World Climate Change Conference took place in Paris, where world leaders gathered to discuss climate change challenges and plans to combat global warming.